Good evening. I know it's the end of the day, so we're going to try and make this an exciting panel for everyone here. We're going to welcome the challengers, the innovators and the bazigars of the D2C space. We have a really interesting panel of speakers this evening who have one thing in common: disruption. Disruption and audacity. Challengers to legacy brands. They are bold, they are confident, they are audacious, and they're changing up the status quo. We welcome our panelists from industries ranging from fashion apparel, perfumes, innerwear, eyewear, footwear, and luggage. Your brands, each of your brands, have created a unique space in the D2C space, and they're creating disruptions in your categories. What are each of your defining moments and insights to launch the brands, and what was the milestone that helped you realize your brand was raising and reaching traction in your categories? Why did you think the D2C route was the best way to do it, unlike traditional distribution models? So we're going to just take this question for each person.
Hi guys, I'm Abdus, founder of Salmon Marshall Eyewear. So we started this company, the brand, in 2019. It was the era of D2C, online and everything. That was the sole reason to start the brand on online and to capture more and more customers. So yeah, that was the only thing.
Hi everyone, this is Ketan, Jaggi. I'm the co-founder of Sassafras. It's a fast fashion brand. So we started in 2015. It's almost we're completing 10 years this year. And this was started by my wife, who's the designer and the main sourcing head in the company. I joined her a few years later when the brand picked up and then wanted somebody to run the show, and she would take the limelight. But yeah, I mean, this is, it's been a long journey for us, and we like to call ourselves digital first and not D2C specifically, because we were a marketplace brand when we started. 2015, we launched our brand on the entire marketplace segments, and quickly scaled up in 2 years. We were identified by Myntra as one of the fastest growing brands. In 2018, we signed up a program with them called the Myntra Accelerator Program, which identifies a few brands from each of the categories and then gives them all the insights, the growth possibilities, how to be able to scale up the brand. And we were one of the fortunate ones to be able to actually sign up and prove, the worth of it. And in about 2 years' time, we were one of the top brand in the women's Western wear category. We've still retained that number in the top 3 till now. So D2C, of course, started for us just 2 years back. We are not very old in terms of D2C. We're not the initial people who started, but of course, when it was all picking up and we saw a great opportunity to be able to push our brand outside of Myntra, outside of the marketplaces, when we realized the value of the entire segment growing and taking the life that it has today, and that's what you all see today. And it has been a tremendous 2-year journey. We've from almost nothing to almost about 15% of the revenue now comes from our own network, our own channel. And we're still a marketplace heavy brand, but we've become present in other channels like MBOs, even GCC presence, and then we have some omnipresence with our own channels. So that's the broad story. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Paarth Malhotra from Mocemsa. So Mocemsa is a fragrance brand that was started by me and my brother in 2017. So now although fragrances are a booming business, but back then people didn't look at Indian fragrances at a much good value. But we were confident since we had a good product, so we wanted to focus on providing a good product to the customer. We're not exactly D2C, we are more offline heavy because we believe fragrances are very experiential and a personal thing. So we are present pan-India at a lot of departmental stores and airports. And the turning point for us would be probably when we got into departmental stores, because that gave us a pan-India presence, and we learned a lot also how to manage operations at a countrywide level. So yeah, the journey's been interesting, and now the industry is booming, so yeah, a lot more to come.
Hi, I'm Shivani. I'm the CEO, CMO and co-founder of Uptownie. We're a mass premium women's wear brand. Um, in terms of when we really saw the traction, I would say that there were a couple of points in the journey. So we started about 7 years ago, and we used to be a marketplace first brand. In the last 2 years, we started focusing heavily on our D2C, and we really saw the uptick there. Now 70% of our revenue comes from our D2C. Um, in terms of when we saw these like sort of bursts of momentum in the brand, I would think that for a fashion brand, it's associated with a viral product. And this is why also being digital first and D2C is sort of good, because the scale that you can reach on a single product, because on the internet that kind of takes on a life of its own. So within a span of 3 to 4 months, we saw a particular top of ours last year become the #1 bestseller in the women's tops category, which is the most crowded and most competitive category in women's in Western women's wear. And that was the #1 bestseller on Amazon, Flipkart, and Myntra. And it used to move at least like 500 units a day on our D2C also without ads. So I think at that point of time, it was a sort of black swan event for us, because the brand became really associated with that product, and it was a product that people then started picking up and started selling by word of mouth. Why go D2C? I think that brand recall is built much better on your own website and your own stores than it is built on a distributor or a marketplace, because you are interacting with the customer at every touch point, and you're also collecting data from the customer at every touch point. So you know why they're returning, you know why they're clicking on something, you know which landing pages are working for you. You have like really detailed Google Analytics of who is coming from where, and that sort of helps you with product innovation and also just figuring out how to speak to the customer through your own social media interactions with them or your other interactions with them. So yeah.
I'm Vaani. I'm the co-founder of Chugh. Why we launched the brand? Because when I was young, I did not like wearing bras. I thought they were very uncomfortable. And by 2020, when I saw that girls that age were still being, the bras that were still being made, or the innerwear, was not really being made for them. It was still being made by men. There was not a lot of thought being put into them. So we entered the market as a teens first brand over the years. We've expanded into women's essentials as well. So now we cater to teens, young women, and now older women also. And we do reusable period care as well. The idea for the brand is we are 2 women founders. And the idea is to create comfortable, sustainable products for women that make them feel free and that are thoughtfully designed for their bodies. Why D2C? First, actually, why digital first? Because as a challenger brand, it's always easier to get into digital first. Incumbent brands are very, very strong in the offline market. We've been through that route. I think that question will come up later, and I'll address that. And D2C is something that has been a bit of a challenge for us. We've been trying to figure it out. We've been working on it for 2 years. Only the last 2-3 months has the D2C really started performing for us. And other than most of the points which she covered, which is data, extremely important, there's also a huge cash flow element that the D2C gives to you. You get instant cash if your ROAS is good. If you're able to crack the ads well, then D2C has to be one of the most profitable channels that you can build on.
Hi, my name is Veena. I'm founder of Monro. We started with a very simple intention of doing 10,000 steps every day, but in a very joyful way. So our intention was to create shoes in which you could just walk for long and be the explorer. One of the moments in our journey when we realized that this is something that's big is when we saw our product ratings on Marketplace, which is a very wall-guarded, you cannot like post reviews, you cannot buy reviews, and our reviews were like 4.3 out of 5. And we realized that, wow, there's so much potential in just getting product right very, very early on in our journey. And why DTC? I think the closer you are to the consumer, the faster you build things. So for example, we have a database of 2 lakh women consumer with their number, with their WhatsApp. Me personally as a founder would talk to 20, 30 women customer weekly basis. Some of them will tell me, 3 inches ka wedge mat banaiye. Make it of 2 inches. Make a loafer for us. Make this for us. And that's just such a fantastic insight for a brand to have. Otherwise, just being lost in Excel sheet that actually give you a post-mortem of what has sold well and doesn't give you an insight into future. So I thought DTC is a fantastic portal to know your consumer and then to build stuff ahead.
I think that's incredible. But I think the one thing common with everyone is there was an insight that there was definitely a demand. And the insight really is we want to own our data that allows us to predict kind of what's coming next. We're going to now jump into just a little more deeper insights. This is for Ketan. Most D2C brands rely on storytelling, and that's a very important part of the brand building exercise. A lot of founders today have become the face of their brands. They're running their own Instagram pages. And there's a lot more storytelling and brand building that is happening today with the D2C brands. How do you stand out from the clutter in women's apparel? Also, to build the storytelling is expensive. And how do you make sure your story resonates with your customers? And how much should you as a brand really be focusing on the brand building, and how much should really be on performance and the top of the funnel?
Sure. I think that's a very interesting question, especially storytelling is very important in today's date and age, especially if you're starting a brand of your own, or if you're wanting to tell a story that is very different than others, or to stand out of crowd. But like I said, we started very early on. 2015 is when we started the business. There was no storytelling like we have today. There was a lot of demand for certain products because e-commerce had picked up really good time. But there wasn't enough brands being able to supply to that demand, and that's where we cracked it. So we cracked that model where you're able to offer a product which is great quality, affordable pricing, and great on styling and latest on trend. These are the problems that we actually identified very early on when we started the business, and the whole reason why we started is to be able to solve this as a problem. Our storytelling journey started from there on, when how we created products or how we created our entire range was creating drops. Drops of 50 styles, 100 styles. It could be as small as 20 styles. And shooting them like a story. Shooting them like they're supposed to be worn, shown, or showcased in a way which you're able to quickly understand on how one would wear it or how one would want to style it. A lot of people want to be told at times. They want to see, believe, and understand, oh, this is really nice. I like the way this is being styled or where it's being worn. I know how I wear to wear this. So we started this very early on. We don't do the storytelling like a lot of new founders do, because I think, like I said, it was a first mover's advantage. We did a lot of things early on. Having said that, we still do a lot of influencer marketing. We've pivoted towards new age marketing to a greater sense, because we know those are key areas where a lot of people are shopping and buying. Another thing that we do very, very evidently and we build it in our entire business plan, is to create different brand segments. So we started Sassafras as a women's western wear brand. Today we have 9 brands, all under the sub-brand of Sassafras, all under the main brand of Sassafras. 2020 is when we launched our ethnic wear brand called Share by Sassafras. 21 we launched a menswear brand called Masculine Sassafras. Then we went into teens and pre-teens, which is Novo by Sassafras. Like that, we have 9 brands today, catering to plus-size women. There is one catering to workwear. Then there is one catering to core business fashion. So these are stories that we've created to target a new TG, a new audience altogether, and add on to the volume of our entire business. So it's not eating into the business of Sassafras because the TG is completely different or the product is need state. And that brings us to be able to tell those stories independently for each of these brands. We have about 7,000 SKUs live on a platform today, style IDs. It's very difficult to surf through across all of them to be able to showcase a customer what they're looking at. Of course, there is direct targeting. You can do marketing, PLS to a targeted segment, but still a person who coming to a brand and wanting to search for a particular product, it's very, very difficult to be able to do that. So we segment that into different groups and give it to a customer right on a platter on the filtration basis and create them by sub-brands. So that's something's worked very well for us, and we've been continuing to do that. And this year also we are planning to launch 2 more sub-brands to be able to cater to a different need state altogether. So that's the story of, journey that we've taken for storytelling. And that's my insight onto it. Having said that, I think anybody who's now starting up D2C, it's so cluttered, it's so crowded with big brands, older brands, marketplaces, national brands, everyone playing in the same segment, selling the same product or a similar product. Storytelling is a key to enter the market. That's how you enter, and then you change on from there, you pivot from there. So anybody who's entering the market, I think it's very key to be able to identify yourself different than the other brands and different than what you're offering. Your product could be similar, could still be in fast fashion, but you have to package it differently. You have to show it differently for somebody to take notice and tell, yes, they are different. Yes, I resonate with them. They are solving a problem which I've always had, or they are solving something that is missing in the market. So that's what I think storytelling for us is.
I think that's great. This question is for Abdus. The D2C space thrives on customer centricity. And the Indian customer, especially Gen Z, is a very demanding customer and extremely disloyal. Brands in the eyewear space today are doing some exceptional examples of customer centricity, like allowing eye testing at the airport and delivering it in 20 minutes. Can brands, when they are starting out, really look into customer centricity because it's an expensive proposition? Should you really care? And should you share a story of how you are directly engaging? And how does tech play into your category?
So firstly, I'll answer for myself, for the brand, Sam & Marshall. So in consumer, talking about the consumers and asking them what they want and all of that, I personally call them and ask them what's happening, did you like the product and all of that. Feedback calls are taken by myself and by all the customers. Like I'm talking about all the customers because we are D2C heavy. Our sales come, like 85% of the sales comes from our own website, so we have the data, so we can call them. So we do it within 15 days. Every 15 days we call the customers and ask them. And we are also heavy on prescription eyeglasses, as she mentioned, and prescription sunglasses also. So she's absolutely right that consumer centricity is super duper important, and what we are doing here is we are enabling tech also in it to make sure it gets a very seamless process to buy the prescription glasses and to also maintain it. Because buying a prescription glasses or a prescription sunglasses is not that big of a task today, but maintaining it gets a little bit tricky because there is no knowledge about it. So I personally talk to the customers and tell them how it should be done, how you should take care, how can you increase the longevity of your product. So that is what one thing we do. And coming to the second thing, which is if someone new is starting any D2C brand in the eyewear sector or in any sector, as she mentioned, it gets very difficult to focus on the consumer centricity in the starting because it requires a lot of resources, not in just terms of money, but in terms of a lot of other aspects as well. What I will say is just go step by step. Whatever resources you have, just be at front and do the consumer centricity and talk to the consumers. The most important thing is talking to the customers. If you'll ask someone in your organization and ask them ki aap baat kar lo, but the key decisions aap le rahe ho, baat koi aur kar raha hai, that doesn't work. You'll have to talk, you'll have to understand what the consumer is thinking, and no Excel sheet, no analytics, no Google Analytics, nothing can tell you. It's a human element you'll have to act upon that. That is the only thing you can do, and which is not expensive. You just need to give 2 more hours of your day, which I think someone starting new can give easily. They should give it. So yeah.
Great. Vaani, this is for you. The lingerie market is one of the fastest growing, but has very few national players. But in a category like lingerie, distribution is key. Your brand is a digital-first brand, which is unique considering what the other brands are today in the Indian market. Do you think a D2C brand can survive solely online and successfully? Or is an offline presence important? And how would you go around doing it?
So offline presence, especially in a product like ours, which is a touch and feel product, is important. There's no denying that. And at some point, to get scale, one has to go offline. We've tried offline as well. The trouble is that when you're a challenger brand, then there are a lot of obstacles that you have. And as we said, offline, the brands that are already existing, the incumbent brands, they've been there for years, they've been there for generations. To challenge them in their turf is very, very difficult. We tried that. It is a model that requires a lot of capital. It's a model that requires a lot of operational strength. And it's a model that requires a lot of experience. And it is a traditional model, which is typically a general trade or a modern trade model. What we've realized is that for a brand like us, a challenger brand, it has to be a more creative play. Yes, we'll have to. We went offline, we came back. It didn't work out very well for us at that point of time. We know we need to get back there again, but the time when we go back, it has to be with a creative strategy. It cannot be a general trade strategy, go to the distributor goes to the retailer, no. We have to do it differently. There are new options, thankfully, with quick commerce now. There is a play for D2C brands like us. Entry to quick commerce is difficult. But once you're in, there is a play for that offline place also because it's a hyper-local model. Once you've done that, then there is a play on how to get offline, but in a cash-efficient manner, in a manner which lets you connect with your consumer. When you go through a general trade model or through a distributor model, the distributor is the middleman. You're not able to reach the consumer. You don't get the data. With D2C, you're very used to getting data. You're very used to understanding your customer. So it has to be a model where you do kiosks, you do vending machines, you do an omni-channel play, you do shop and shop, but it has to be a very thought-through strategy. So of course, as I said, offline is important. How it has to be done for a challenger brand, it cannot be done how the incumbent brands did it. It has to be a different out-of-the-box approach now.
My next question is for Veena. What do you think is a trend in the D2C space which is right now very overhyped? How do you see the D2C space evolving? And what direction do you see it? Because we're hearing one part which is very much about physical space and physical retail, and some is very pure play online or digital first. What kind of trends do you see kind of coming in the D2C space, and what trend do you see kind of starting to die out?
I think one of the overhyped things which of late I see is I think people talking about trendy products, right? I think before this, there was a mentor of mine who was there. He's from Tommy Hilfiger, and he rightly pointed out that there are some classic products that will always sell. I think as founders or as brands, to remember that is a huge grounding thing. To always remember to make classic products that will always sell, and maybe have trend as a certain percentage of your merchandise mix, depending how much appetite you have. So I think that's one thing I see in DTC being overhyped, that, oh, we need to make trendy products all the time. I don't think that's true. Second, I think in the distribution model is an experiment. All of us will have to keep experimenting. Will quick commerce work for shoes or not? I don't know. But we will have to experiment to figure that out. So I think things which are moving in distribution, we all are bound to just go through it and learn and then figure out what works for us. That has been my learning.
Okay, great. Priyanka, this is for you. D2C, sorry? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Shivani, D2C brands are facing rising acquisition costs. Increasing spends for CAC and marketing budgets are under pressure. For brands that are dependent on funding, which is also now under pressure, how do you build brand loyalty sustainably and reduce dependency on paid channels? And what should brands really be looking at for benchmarking today?
So personally, we're not funded. We're a bootstrapped and profitable company and have been from day one. Well, not day one profitable, but you know what I mean. So we've been profitable for the last 6-7 years. I think rising CAC is something that everybody struggles with, bootstrap, funded, not. Obviously, you have a little bit more leeway if you're burning investor money. But I think at least as a digital-first D2C brand, what you really just have to get good at scale is churning out more and more creatives and doing the whole gamut of them. Like doing customer testimonials, doing founder-led ads, doing informative ads, and really telling a story well in those 10 or 15 seconds. And you have to beat your competition at that. I'm saying this on top of obviously fixing the PMF, getting pricing right, etc., etc. But for us, we have actually not seen CACs go up that much as we've scaled on the D2C, and that is because we have recognized that the same creative or the creative style that worked even 2 months back is not going to work anymore, and it gets boring for the customer. So you have to, I would suggest, personally, my experience has been is that investing in capability building in your team and doing this in-house instead of outsourcing to an agency, which comes with a big premium and does not come with the speed that your in-house team is going to be able to do, is very key. So you have to engage in those people, you have to get your hands dirty with it, you have to hire good video editors, train them in-house, and work with other creators at large. If a creator is not working for you, not driving sales, their videos aren't engaging in ads, cut them out. And we do this on basically a weekly basis. The target is to have 10 new creators creating UGC content for the brand every week. So that you're really able to churn through good creatives. And then, and I think that if you are a founder who is also the TG, for example, for us, luckily both me and my sister are sort of young women, and we are selling to young women. Not using yourself in the organic content of the brand and not using yourself in ads is money left on the table, because you know the product better than you can communicate to any UGC creator, and people who buy from you want to know the behind the scene. They want to know like what blew up in the office today, or they want to know why you launched a particular product or how you fixed it, and they want to know the process behind making it. So recently on Shark Tank also, I think there was a brand out of Surat doing Indian clothing, ethnic clothing, and the guy sits and makes all these process reels himself and gets like 800k views. That is insane. Like you will have to spend a lot in ads to get 800k views, and because the video content is just so engaging, that works out for him. So that is not a part to be missed, even though you have it's a trial and error and you have to work really hard at it. I think that that is the one thing that can be a sort of bulwark against rising CACs and then less profitability.
Actually, Sonali, I have one insight on CAC.
Sure, yeah.
I think measuring CAC just on DTC might not be a very efficient way of looking at it. Rather, looking at the CAC for the whole company makes a lot more sense, because I might have seen an ad digitally, but I might just buy
Buy it
them
somewhere else,
on
yeah.
e-commerce or on retail. So I think looking at CAC, zooming out and looking at CAC on the whole brand or on the whole company makes a lot more sense.
To add on to that, I think very valid points, but it's very important to also realize that customer retention is something people overlook a lot of times. They don't realize that it comes at a fraction of a cost, and it averages out your cost to much more minimal levels. So retention is very important to be able to reach out to your older customers, however it may be. There are cheaper ways of doing it, there are personal ways of doing it. WhatsApp marketing is a great tool. These tools, I think, is very important. People don't necessarily look into it because they're always in a pattern by advertising in perf marketing, what is my ROAS, what is my CAG, But something that you can also average it out, and by the way of looking the entire revenue for the whole company, is by reaching out to the older customer, target them because the conversion is better. The recall always works for brands who've been in the market for a while, and that works for very well for us also. So I think that's very important.
5 minutes to go.
Wow. Okay, quick question. Paarth, this is for you. So unlike all the brands, and the reason you're coming in last is most of them are started or digital first and now moving into offline. You've kind of done this the other way around and successfully, and you've now, like you said, opened stores at airports. Perfumes is a very emotive kind of product. You've got to, smell it on your body. It makes you feel a certain way. So how are you really building credibility and communicating, fragrances in that category? And how are you using then marketing and social into building that conversation?
Right. So see, definitely perfumes is a very experiential thing. That's what we've always believed. Fortunately, I come from a family of perfumers, so we had that know-how. We knew that we were building a quality product. So at Mocemsa, we call it a bridge to luxury. So basically that you're taking the highway, but you're not paying the toll for it. So that's the idea. So we knew we were building a quality product. We knew once a customer gets the product, they will believe it, they will understand the product. But we also understood that at 2000 or upwards, going D2C, I could be burning a lot of money in ads, trying to convince that, it's a new brand, will it smell nice, and especially with fragrances, there are no returns. So, that was an ambit that we had to contemplate, and we had to go offline because that was the only way. But we had a product differentiation, so retailers were also open to it. And once we started building it, we saw there's a good customer repeat rate coming in. So retailers got confident, we got a lot of stores coming in. So now coming to that social aspect, see, with D2C, I think all these brands have built a good community for followers and customers who like the brand and the quality, and that is something which is very, very crucial. So you have to pamper the customer, and you have to give them the certain leeway that okay, no problem, we'll return it or whatever the scenario is. So the reality is what I think she also said, that the incumbents, they have a very strong hold in the offline market. So trying to crack that, you have to do something different. You have to keep thinking, get out of the box, do samplings, give freebies. So that's what we do a lot. We do a lot of sampling in the malls. We do a lot of freebies. So that's something that's have worked for us offline.
Great. What is everyone's thoughts really about quick commerce now? Is that a trend you see becoming critical and important for you? And how much focus are you and each of your businesses putting into quick commerce? So we can just take the questions. Do you want to start, and then we can just.
I mean, as we speak, we are about to go live on quick commerce. I am just praying God that maybe just like beauty products, shoes also, people need it in 15 minutes. But I don't know. So maybe in a few weeks we would know.
So for us, quick commerce has been a great learning journey. We went live only in December. So it's been 2 months. The second month's also not over yet. And we realized for innerwear, women's innerwear, quick commerce has turned out to be a great use case. On New Year's Eve, for example, 31st first, we sold the maximum panties. People were only talking about condoms. We were selling panties overnight. And we realized that a lot of innerwear, whether it is bra straps or tube bras, that has been picked up on quick commerce, and there's a genuine change in consumer behavior. So quick commerce, while on one hand is replacing the sale of the local store where they would go and buy it, on the other hand, as I give the panties example, it's giving that extra sale, right? Because they may not have bought it if it was not available in 10 minutes, not deliverable in 10 minutes. So it's definitely like a great. We are also learning about consumer behavior, and we see that it is changing. Quick commerce is adapting, and as brands, especially if you're selling essentials, we have to adapt.
So we have also just gone live with Zepto, and there are fashion-only quick commerce apps also that we're going live with and have gone live with already. There's one in Bangalore called Slick, actually. For us, I think a lot of shopping now, especially in the younger segments, happens around occasions and holidays. Like they want a birthday dress or a New Year's dress, Christmas dress. People don't always plan in advance enough, and delivery timelines can vary across the country. So I think based on our customer feedback and what the competition was doing as well, is having 2-hour deliveries in certain cities that they themselves facilitated, or Myntra also now having opening their own quick commerce arm. I think it is honestly totally indispensable now. It just needs to happen.
So how I see quick commerce is more of a convenience, and specifically in my category, what we've seen, the data says that it's more for gifting. So people would put in a last minute order that they need a fragrance to gift. So that's something that's really come up, and it's nice. But I think rather than offline, that's my personal view. It's more shifting the sales of the marketplaces or probably the websites, and it's like a last minute impulse buy, and if you don't have a gift to go, so it's you get it in 10 minutes.
So I think it's not an easy answer for everybody, because it doesn't apply to every business who's starting into any segment. It may or may not work for you, or it may not be applicable to you if you're starting your business or if you're a founder of a new company. It makes sense to actually try other models. My suggestion would be that. And then once you've identified those products, you've identified what works very well for you. Like for us, wherever we sell, there are certain products that sell very well. They are like the bread and butter for the brand. So we know that those are very easy, low-hanging fruits. You put it on quick commerce, you should be able to sell them off, because we are not looking at the fact that it takes a lot of inventory to be able to build across all dark stores. If you want to reach out to every channel, every city, every pin code, it's a lot of investment. And you don't know what the turnaround would be, how much money you're going to get, and how fast you're going to get it. So you should have tried and tested products and then take them out to quick commerce, because even if you don't sell them and they come back to you, you know that you have other channels to sell them. And they're not a risk inventory for you. So don't overbet on it, but of course it's like everything will coexist at some point. Every model that we are all entering today, we are seeing quick commerce, we are seeing omni-channels, offline, online, D2C, everything will coexist, right? So you have to kind of make buckets into where you want to be in largely, but have other segments also be present. Be present wherever you can, wherever your pockets allow reasonably methods, and try and present there, yeah.
Time, sir.
I am with all of them.
So I think just kind of wrapping up, the interesting thing about the panel was everyone kind of had some common things to say. Customer first, listen to the customer, be where they are, just listen to what they're demanding and when, and adapt to it quickly. Customer loyalty doesn't necessarily come from pushing. It really comes from customer wanting and pulling your product. And that really comes down to making sure you've got product that is really adapting to what customer needs. I want to thank the panel. I think we've had hopefully an interesting session, and if there are any questions for any of the panelists. I think we're good. Good audience. Yes. Thank you.